Karen grew up in country New South Wales, and she had a career as a maths teacher, maths and physics, and later as a lecturer in maths and statistics at the University of Melbourne. Karen and her husband Elton have been restoring landscapes for the last 20 years because they say it's just what we love to do. They purchased a property in Tewton in 2002, on which they've planted many thousands of trees, many more than one for each of the ringbark trees left by the previous farmer, and I think you'll be talking more about that. They collect their own seed and raise some of their own plants, and they've recently become part of Connecting Country, which is a really interesting and exciting community-driven landscape restoration project in the Mount Alexander Shire in central Victoria, and she's on the Connecting Country reference group. From 1993 to 2005, she was a driving force in the Dunmuchen Landcare group, so thank you, Karen.
My story is a journey. I was asked earlier, a week or so ago, whether I had had some sort of aha experience about connecting with the land, and I have to say that really I don't think that was so. I came from a country background. I've always enjoyed being outside. My mum and dad were very outside people. My whole life was like camping, and we picnicked and stuff like that. And then I got married and had a young family and stayed at home and did all those things you do when you have a young family and there's no time to do anything else. When they were growing a bit and I started teaching, life was very full. And then personal things happened and I started moving further and further out onto the fringe of Melbourne. And as I got further away, I realised that this was where I wanted to be. So we eventually ended up in Cottlesbridge, which is near St Andrews, which is not far from the Kinglake National Park. And you will be familiar perhaps about the area because of the bushfires last year. I didn't quite know what to put on this overhead, so I thought, well, maybe my husband might help because he's the one that grows my food. See, we have a huge orchard and he has 53 trees, and despite water shortages, we're doing very well, thank you very much, by pumping from a dam. He's at home babysitting the new addition to the family, who couldn't come because it would have been a disaster. Young Bonnie, the dog there. And on the left, my family at one of those numerous gatherings who have all grown up but are very much into the environment themselves. The two bottom photos are from the decks, plural, of first of all my Dunmuchen house and what made me fall in love with the land. When we first saw it, it was quite a degraded property though, 20 acres. And on the right, where we're living now in Tewton, also a sunset from the deck. And it is living in these places and watching what happens that is such a rewarding experience that you just have to keep doing it. So Dunmuchen, we lived 82 to 2007. We had 20 acres. We planted, we had a tiny mud brick house, which we then extended. We'd never lived on tank water before, but now I wouldn't do anything else. It's a fantastic resource and we can all manage to use what naturally comes out of the sky. 83 was the dust storm time over Melbourne. It was quite a pivotal time for me. It was the start of the Greens movement. We had the Save the Dams project and my youngest daughter got very involved with, don't know whether you remember the issues of clubbing of seals, and the polar bear at that time was regarded as becoming endangered. We only started off because we didn't know any better. We had a few sheep on the place and very quickly realised that was not going to be a good idea. It couldn't possibly support, and anyway, that was not a good idea. We planted a native garden because, again, we were short on water. We couldn't use our tank water. We didn't have enough for watering the garden. And in the beginning, we did have a cat, but when Trust for Nature recognised the value of our property as a buffer zone to the bush in the Dunmuchen area, an area of about perhaps only 4 square kilometres, we decided that that cat would be our last and we wouldn't have another one. And as soon as we didn't have the cat, the birds came and the plants grew, the native trees grew, and we had birds. And it was just the most fantastic experience. So what had become farming for me turned from that into what I would say was conservation and enhancement and creation of habitat. We had chooks, and then we eventually got rid of those because we couldn't keep them still. And the reason for getting rid of them was that they invaded the bush, and we realised the value of this particular bushland area. It has very high environmental and cultural value. The community there is a very diverse and artistic one. It's one of the few sites of the rare and endangered little pink spider orchid. We have a few botanists in the area, one in particular, who crawled around on hands and knees with a paintbrush trying to propagate them. Now, it wasn't altogether successful, and I think this is what we have to realise. You can't make things happen. Quite often you just have to help it along and watch and wait. And year by year, it's never the same. You see something different, not necessarily more, sometimes less, but nature does it, and you see something different, and it's pretty amazing. This area is right on the fringe of the suburbs. It's under the threat of development, and the community there has gotten together very strongly since 1990 basically, and formed the Dunmoochie Land Care community. Now, it was a very strong time in the development of land care in Victoria, and the diagram, or the picky on the bottom, is one of the local properties which is a buffer zone property. In other words, look, you have to push the bush out, because if you leave it alone, then what you have will be impacted and be decimated. So Trust for Nature saw the value of this. We've got about 8 Trust for Nature covenants in the area, and that's a property that we planted one day, about 1,000 plants, some of which I'd propagated. That was my little propagation fenced-in area, so the roos wouldn't and the rabbits wouldn't eat my little plants, some of which we'd propagated from locally collected seed. And there's the afterwards. It was a total community effort, and everybody owned the outcome, which was just fantastic. Now, a lot of this happened through federal and state funding and very strong support from our local council. And without that, we could not have done what we did. Sure, there was a lot of work in kind from the 30-odd properties involved, but we couldn't have done it. We couldn't have afforded to do it on our own. Now, 2010, the Landcare Group has produced a biodiversity report in 2 volumes. A very extensive study's been done in the area, and monitoring will be ongoing. Now, this day, which was a May 2004 planting, is now this. And we're looking at only 5-6 years later. So the owner of this place says, when you walk through it, it's like walking through the bush. It looks a bit like a park. That's because you have to get the overstory first, and then you watch what's happening on the ground, and you can get into the understory later. And eventually what's naturally there and what's meant to happen and can happen will happen. Okay, so why did we leave? Well, we ran away from development, which was coming a little closer up the Plenty Corridor. And we were also looking for something else. We felt we'd done what we could do, and I was perhaps going to retire. All this was while I was full-time working, and my husband was full-time working. And I had a dream to build a sustainable house. Our mud brick was lovely, but we could only do so much with it. So we bought the land in Chewton in 2001, and everybody does when they're about to retire. They go from 20 acres to 120 acres. Inexhaustible energy. Maybe the day will come when it'll run out, but it's such a joy. Near Castlemaine, just south of Bendigo. It was land that was not particularly wonderful, but I thought it was. However, there was significant remnant vegetation, lots of big, large trees, as well as grasslands. And 2002 saw a Trust for Nature covenant over that property as well.